Brad Bird, the director and creator of Pixar's Incredibles movies, once said that animation is not a genre, it is a medium.
Okay.
I do believe that to be 100% true.
Yeah.
And knowing that they break genres and stuff, what are some animated movies that you feel were, provocative or profound, how you reacted to them when you saw them?
Yeah, this is one that would have been good prior to it. Because I'm thinking about all of my favorites and like how deep were they, or was it just something that I enjoyed?
For those listening, I messed up. I was literally voice texting these questions to my phone on the way down here.
And you overestimated me by thinking I would be able to answer said questions. Not that smart. I am not that smart.
You undervalue yourself, sir.
Well, that's fine. I'll do that. Even though we just talked about not doing that earlier.
Quit knocking yourself down, man.
I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants on this one, but I'll bring it up. One of my absolute favorites in the medium, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, yeah.
Is easily one of my favorites. It is probably after The Dark Knight, my favorite Batman movie. Very, very close. That is one that, even though I think you could tell that story in another medium, like you could easily tell that in the comics or make a live action movie.
Sure.
But I feel like the fact that it's animated, it is based on the cartoon show that was on at the time. The fact that it deals with such mature subject matter, like the fact, and not just mature in a dark, violent sense, although it is darker and more violent than the show, it is just dealing with more mature themes like, parental issues, dealing with trauma, dealing with a secret identity, and an identity that you no longer want to mess with, and what is the true divide between where Bruce Wayne ends and Batman begins.
Yeah.
Pun not intended. It just takes a different, take on Batman that I don't think we've really seen much of in the movie medium, even though we get an entire movie that's Bruce Wayne for an hour before we even see him in costume.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the same way because it's not really getting into Bruce as a character. It's all about evolving into Batman.
Yeah.
But what Mask of the Phantasm does is it shows what you see Bruce is, as a younger, brash character, and you see what he could have become. He could have become a character more like the Phantasm, who is not about justice, but about vengeance, and is frankly selfish in that way.
Yeah.
But you also see a Bruce who is selfish in his own way by becoming this other character and, mask of his own and disregarding everything else. He's almost selfish in the way that he won't let himself be or have what he wants. Like, it's a weird internal selfishness.
Yeah.
And that's, again, not something that we see a lot of in live action.
Yeah.
But I think that movie is very, very layered, and you can dissect it and find a lot more in it than just a silly 80-minute cartoon.
You bring up a really, really strong point and something I had never considered before. You mentioned how the gravitas, the seriousness is handled better in the animation versus the live action.
Right.
And I still think, even with some very dedicated players in the modern superhero genre of films that are live action, there are some people doing amazing work. Yeah. But there is still a jokey aspect to it. Like, I'm in tights, I'm in front of a green screen, I have to yell certain things or act a certain way. And when somebody is like Kevin Conroy doing Batman in a voice, he can imbibe himself in that in a way that I think is even an edge above somebody physically performing a character, especially in the most dramatic moments. That's not to take away from, Robert Downey Jr. being Tony Stark. Yeah. That's not to take away from even Chris Evans doing an amazing job as Captain America. Those are two of my favorite actors doing two roles I really appreciate.
Absolutely.
Especially with Captain America. That we're just even being able to and I know people are probably going to think I'm full of it on this, but that moment in the theaters when he blocked Thanos' hand and he's screaming with all he has, to hold him back in that moment. Like I'm not until he gets swiped away. I know that it's the camera. I know it's the editing. I know it's the direction and his acting and all this other stuff. You don't see that heavy sort of emoting that often.
No.
You just don't. And I realized that was it's even something that's been missing more from these later offerings, more common, the more newer ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the banter and the writing to some degree on the majority of them, but there's a lot more superficiality to it,
Right.
You don't feel like there's that much at stake, or at least I don't. I feel like, well, if this is being pushed as hard as it possible, you know what? In fact, that's exactly why I like Brad Bird's take on the superhero genre in The Incredibles, because the most powerful scenes are between Helen and Mr. Incredible, or Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible, when they're just at home, when they're having that discourse about their son, and about him superheroing at night and doing vigilante work and stuff. Those scenes, I remember how everyone in the theater was when I saw. They were like, "Oh man, that's hardcore,"
Yeah.
And I mean, but Pixar did so many good things like that. I mean, Up
really
devastated me. So
of course. No, Incredibles does that really well. And the moment that always has stuck with me ever since I first saw it in the theaters was that moment where they're not at home, but when he's trying to take everything on himself, and it's like, I can't lose you again. Because when he thought that they were dead, and he's, he and Helen are having that fight, and he's like,
oh my God,
I'm not strong enough. That's why I'm trying to help you. No, I cannot lose you again.
Yeah.
I'm not strong enough. The weight of those words.
Yeah.
And I'm even getting chills just thinking about it. Like that moment for me was the one I remember the most from seeing it the first time. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Part of why I haven't seen the second one to this day is because I feel like it's probably not going to have that. And I also feel like it's probably 5 years too late for me. That's why. But that's me. I don't need The Incredibles 2 because I got the first one.
Yeah.
And that was perfect.
Well, the third one was announced.
Great.
Yeah. Right. Well, along with
that's fine.
Then the new Toy Story as well.
And with that, I didn't see the fourth one because the third one was the perfect ending.
I know. I see. I must be a glutton for punishment. I was a huge Pixar nerd, a huge fan. Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, something like I should probably stop idolizing people because a lot of people that I like have passed on. Like Joe Ranft, the writer. Yeah. He was like, I was like, that I want to meet that dude. Like his writing, the humor and everything he brought to it was amazing. And it was tragic that he passed away, that car wreck. But the biggest thing for me was that, the movies that were making at that time, even Cars, had something more to it, like they were, if they didn't just make you feel good, there was something, those smaller moments were what really got me. Like, in Toy Story 2 with Jesse's song, that one is, oh God, yep, that's not even right, man. Like
I watched that over the holiday, and that's like the, if I like any of them the most, it's Toy Story 2.
Yep.
Because that scene just elevates that.
Yeah.
You lose some of the Woody Buzz banter, which I think makes the first one.
Oh yeah.
But the quality of the second, just that scene was like, okay, this is not the same movie.
Yeah.
This is different kind of feels, and it's wonderful.
Oh, dude, Kelsey Grammer as the actual villain, as the prospector?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he played that as serious as a heart attack.
Oh yeah.
Like when he got offended over a space toys, I'm like, no, whatever you may think of him on a personal level, because I know he had some scandalous stuff going on, I don't care. That scene, I was like, damn, I thought the toy collector was the bad guy.
Yeah, no.
He's just a bumbling sidekick, man, is what it felt like. He was the cog that made it happen.
Yes.
But still, that
Stinky Pete those movies have great villains.
They do. Sid from the first one is stunning. I think the hardest part, because I have watched Toy Story 4, and I've tried watching some of the other miniseries and stuff. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't need that much information.
Yeah.
I like it. I get why it's happening, but like all of their IPs are turning into that now. And this isn't turning into like a hate fest because I still love Pixar, but it's one of those things where it's like, when corporate got a corporate and you got to make money, like, oh wait, this IP is still fresh, let's make more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like the studio when Beneath the Planet of the Apes came out.
Oh God,
and God, that is a depressing film. I've only seen it once. I don't think I could ever watch it again.
No, it is very depressing.
I do remember not afterwards because I wasn't born,
right?
But I remember reading about it, and it's like, okay, so the planet blows up, they're all dead, and the studio, somebody at the studio is like, apes exist, sequel required.
Oh yeah.
I just remember reading about that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And so they continued on for 3 more movies, a TV show, a cartoon, and they're still making movies from
There's another one coming out this year, I think.
Oh God.
Yeah. Now they don't all happen in the same universe. There's now effectively 3 timelines. Because
4 if you count the Tim Burton one, which nobody does.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing though. Like see, that's another thing. My fandom gets in my way. I do like Tim Burton and I did like the designs, but that storyline was goofy. It was really goofy. Now the open-ended aspect of it, like coming back to a planet full of apes, literally, like I like that. But it was still goofy.
Okay.
Still goofy.
Okay. I don't want to dwell on this too much, but the ending is the only part I liked about
it. Yeah.
And everyone's like, it makes no sense. It's like, it kind of does. It's still because the movie itself is dumb.
Yeah.
But like, I actually really liked that dark ending and the fact that it didn't go anywhere else. That was the closest to fitting the theme of the movies.
It did. There was a whole slew of movies in the 70s that were extremely bleak science fiction films. And those are some of my favorites. Like even some of the low budget ones.
Yeah.
There was one, I cannot remember the name of it. The guy goes out in the desert. He escapes some beautiful woman from a city. And I barely remember it because I want to say it was like in the early 70s. And I saw it like in the 80s. And they get to this factory. I think Family Guy parodied this. So that may be where I'm messing up here. But they're trying to find where the ultimate source of evil is coming from and what they got to stop. And it sort of alludes to the fact that there's a place that I feel drawn to. And he goes and he looks in the window and it's filled with other things like him. And he's like, am I a robot? And so she's like, yes. And so because that, you must stop the source. And so he shoots himself in the head. But it turns out he's not a robot. And he bleeds out on the sand. And they unapologetically show the blood. And what it was the other things in there were robots, but he was a human. And then she reveals her face as being a robot. So she was another robot sent to basically eliminate the last human.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, because they didn't want the truth coming out, because as long as the other robots thought they were human, they had better control over them. It was a really dark movie, and I don't know if I'm confusing it with that scene in Family Guy, but it was those kind of movies always got to me. When I got to the end of that particular Tim Burton Planet of the Apes film, I was like, that was cool.
Yeah.
I remember everybody else I watched it with were like, this is stupid. I was like, no, this is good. I like it.
Yeah.
And it was the closest to what the 70s run, which hilariously, every sequel got cheaper and cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Because pretty soon, I think it was like the budget of a cup of coffee to get that last one done.
Yeah.
And even in the second one, for Charlton Heston to be like, if I die, I'll be in that one. Because you see him in the beginning, and then he runs in at the end, and doesn't he blow up the planet? It's been a while since I've watched it.
Yeah, he's in the flashbacks at the beginning.
Yeah.
In a little bit, and then it's a different guy who looks surprisingly like Charlton Heston, but they didn't just recast. They brought in a different character.
Right.
And then, Charlton Heston comes back for like the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
He's in it longer than it's alluded to.
Yes.
But, yeah, he comes back. The main guy gets shot. The movie still goes on for a little while.
I know.
Yeah, he blows up the planet.
Yeah, well, and even the other astronauts, man, like, God, the first astronaut they find that they had stuffed, there was some dark themes in there.
Oh, yeah.
That was one thing that really shattered my mind back as a kid. I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? But they didn't, wasn't a kid's movie.
Nope.
So.
It was G somehow.
Right.
But it was not for kids. It was dark. It was a procedural for half the movie.
Yeah.
It was a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
And it was riveting.
It was.
I saw it when I was like 9 or 10 and I loved it.
Yeah. I remember like when I watched it, I kept thinking to myself, like, why am I interested in this? And I don't mean that in a bad way, because it wasn't as action oriented as I thought it was going to be, but it was still really good. And I know that maybe now in hindsight, now reading magazines and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, okay. I know what I saw. And a lot of them were like, well, they kept cutting the budget.
Yeah.
And I do like the newer ones, but, you know.
That's fair. Yeah. But, like, back to what the original question was, and also tying it back to previous conversation, I do think that there's something to be said about not exploiting an IP to the fact that there's, you know too much.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I like that the Pixar movies, or that Pixar does, is, you know, some of the shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we don't necessarily have to have sequels to everything.
Yep.
But, like, a 15, 20-minute short that follows obscure character, or, you know, fills in a gap, or tells you where the characters are now, I'm totally cool with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, WALL-E is my favorite of that of, you know, Disney Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
One of my top 10 favorites of all time.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a short, like they did that one with
Bernie.
Bernie, yeah. That was cool. I would love it if they did another one, even if it's like a little pseudo sequel that picks up with them on Earth.
Yep.
Just like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to spend another 10 minutes with WALL-E or Eve or one of those characters.
I know.
I do not need a sequel. No. I don't want a sequel, because that movie is perfection.
Yeah.
And I can say that about a lot of the other Disney Pixar stuff. Like, I'm good with them making shorts every now and again, but we don't need Toy Story 5.
Oh, no, I know. We didn't need Moana 2.
I want that, but I also want it to be better than what I've heard.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, no. I saw it that weekend.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, nope, this is a television show. Because it was a Disney Plus series.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not that I'm the world's greatest editor.
Yeah.
But when I watched it, I'm like, no, this is off. I have some theories. Her younger sister, based on the animations of the way they did, I'm like, no, that was her daughter. I'm almost dead serious. That was her daughter. Even to the point to where the ocean reacts to her. Okay, I could believe that was maybe her sister and she gained sort of the same affinity, but it would make more sense if that was her daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there may have been a husband, and I think it was the big strong guy that's in there. Like, he's sort of linked up as a romantic interest anyway in the film. Mm-hmm. And then, but they introduced characters so quickly and so just haphazardly that it was hard to take them seriously. And it felt like, oh God, what was the other Disney movie that came out that was sort of a center of the world? Was it Strange Worlds?
Oh, I know. Oh, the space one from a couple years ago?
Yeah, it's something like that.
I can't remember. I know which one you're talking about, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I cannot, like that, see, like how little impact that movie had.
They didn't promote it.
No, they buried that thing.
Yeah.
But that
I
movie,
thought it looked cool, whatever it was.
It did look cool, but it didn't even get half the respect that, like, Treasure Planet did. Mm-hmm. You know, that one.
Not very much.
No. But like, there was so much in the Moana film that I thought, you know, the first one to me is a masterpiece. Like
yeah,
when
it's wonderful.
One of the most beautiful animated sequences I've ever seen in my life was whenever she looks back at the lava monster and she holds up the heart and then walks slowly while singing. Granted, that Disney moment of singing, but walks slowly as the creature is racing toward her, and you think it's going to be some sort of cataclysmic thing happening, and she slows down at the last moment and she reveals who she is, you know, like she's singing, you know who you are. I remember, I am not ashamed to admit, I was full on ugly crying in the theater. That to me was one, like, that whole sequence, because there's a moment, like, when you, at least for me, from a cinematic aspect, when you look at the lighting, the way she was haloed from behind with the beautiful stormy skies above, the water wall on either side, which was also kind of a callback of the waters parting, not in the biblical method, but back to the control and the alliance that she had with the ocean, protecting her, almost like guiding her on her way. There was so much alliteration, so much foreshadowing, so much just crazy, powerful stuff. And then I get the second movie, and I remember walking out going, God damn it. And that's all I could utter. Because I know there's people that liked it. But I've also come to understand that, and this is, again, not trying to be troublesome, there are people that are like, but it was just more of the same, so I'm cool with that. You know? And I know what that's like. I order the same thing when I eat at Chili's every single time. I am super predictable. But with my entertainment, I kind of just wanted more. I really wanted the world, and I really wanted it to be much more than what it was.
Yeah.
And that one was like, oh, God. That's why I'm worried about the next. I don't have to see them, but I don't need another Toy Story. I don't need these other ones. And if Incredibles 2 or 3 happens, well, it's going to. I hope they don't rush it, because Incredibles 2 suffered from a rushed production because they weren't finished with Toy Story. So they pushed his up by, I think, like 12 months or something.
Yeah.
I think the Pixar blog covered that. And I was like, good Lord, man. And of course, you know, you're working at the company, so you're not going to say much, but I can't wait for Brad Bird to write a book someday. Like, I really want to know what happened.
That would be interesting, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Him and Ed Catmull, because I think that's another guy that he had to do a lot to kind of do some PR saving for Pixar over the years. Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion we can get into on something else. All right, so we're down to 2 last questions on this now. Okay, so to close this out, if you were given a chance to look 10 years into the future, where would you like to see yourself professionally? Would you still be an artist? Would you maybe instead decide to pursue a different path? What do you think?
I would just want to be happy.
That's fucking rad. Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, having said that, I would like to, because I like the routine, I would like to be doing some semblance of what I am now. Maybe more, maybe better. Definitely better. But I would still like to be creative, whether I'm doing it professionally, full-time, or out of habit even. That's what I want. I don't want to give up what I am passionate about, even if it's not something that I'm able to do as a full-time professional.
Right.
I want to just be happy and not lose out on that. Now, it would be great if I was being creative full-time and could support that. But I also know how difficult that is. You know, I feel like even if I don't get there, I'm still going to try. And I would like to know that in 10 years, whether I'm successful in that or if I'm at least happy wherever I'm at. That's what I would want to see.
That's a hell of a goal. That's, I think, the best goal. That's something that I think every person, especially myself, tend to overlook that, because, you know, the mental paradigm is to go, well, I want to be financially better off or something. There's a particular coach that I've heard their stuff before, and they always talk about this thing called Sparkle Goal. And they say, hey, you know, you should get to a certain point that's a financial happiness. And I'm probably oversimplifying this, but, you know, like, oh, you want to make $50,000 a year doing this or something. Okay, well, that's fine. I just didn't agree with it. It may work for some people, but I didn't. It wasn't until I spoke to another fellow that runs a really, really, really cool store that sells Gundam toys and stuff. So he has, attachments to Bandai and stuff like that. And he explained to me one time, just in passing, about how he runs his business, and it's based on a rolling plan, if I got this right. So it sounds like he's constantly moving the goalpost of success for himself, but it's because he's like, you know, like he was talking about, I guess, how Bandai has like a 70-year business plan, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I can't even wrap my head around that.
Dude, I've been trying to do a year plan since the beginning of this year. Like, it's been 18 days. I'm like, I don't know what to do. But so the point is that I found that much more provocative to look at, you know, if you're trying to do something, because like he's akin to what we're doing, right? Like he sells plastic models for a living. Okay. runs a beautiful, clean store. It's wonderful. He's always engaged with people, everything else like that. He's there. And I love owners of stores like that. They can't wait to get their work on the stuff. It's a dream come true for them, and they're happy. That to me is incredible. And that's kind of what I go for. But when I was asked, I was like, dude, that's amazing. You get to do this. He's like, yeah, but it also helps that I'm able to kind of placate any of my fears for the most part by knowing, well, if they have a plan, I need to have a plan too. And if you fail, that's okay. That failure is now past you. Now move on to the success that will be next. And just to keep driving toward that success point as an organic thing, so that even if you fail, you know that you can keep progressing forward. Yeah, it was.
I like that.
I'm not even doing half the justice to it as he put it in the moment. It was just like, damn it, I just don't think that way. All right, so this is the last one. So first of all, thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah,
this was really rad. I think this was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get this all edited and everything else like that. If people want to know more about you or is there anywhere you would recommend them to go?
Sure. So I am on a few of the socials. I don't have my own Facebook page. Well, I do, but I don't do anything with my own Facebook page, but I'm on there. I am on the Twitters, not X, at Cameron.Kieffer, at Cameron Kieffer, Instagram at Cameron.Kieffer, because it's just easier.
Yep.
So, and my website, also my name, CameronKieffer.com. Any of those, I'm happy to engage with people. I am going to be at a few cons this year. I haven't settled on all of them yet, but I will be at Planet Comic-Con in March.
Nice.
So as of this recording, it's in March. I don't know when this will be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Probably here in the next few weeks, actually. So.
Cool. So, but I'll do some more shows this year in between Wichita, Lawrence, and Topeka.
Nice.
So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. And yeah, I don't have anything otherwise to promote right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you got things in works, and it takes time.
Yeah.
That's part of the creative process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what art I'm going to be doing for Planet, but I'll figure it out. Hopefully, I used to work on stuff like right up until the day before.
Oh man, yeah.
And I don't need that stress in my life anymore, especially because I look at the stuff that I did at that time, and it wasn't good. It was rushed, and you could tell.
Yep.
So I would much rather start something tomorrow and have it ready for the show.
Yeah. So, we can, I guess we can close out on that. But that is another part that I would love that for anyone that's listening to this that isn't an artist to understand is that sometimes deadlines can be the worst thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
And that goes even outside of the realm of art, just being able to do your best. I know that there were books that I released that I phoned it in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could tell the last 3 pages that like somebody was holding a metaphorical gun to my head, like, you got a deadline, boy, and I'm like, oh God. And so like there are some that just don't work out that good. And then there were some that I was like, I'm really proud of what I did here. Maybe just don't read the last half of the book. In fact, here, give me some scissors. I'm going to cut this off. Like it just ends abruptly. And that's something that like I made myself slow down this year too. So, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think plenty of times, especially as I get older, it's better, in my opinion, to slow down and think about what we're making and doing. Because I think I would much rather have something that I'm happy with, but at the same time, I don't like drowning under the idea debt and then wanting to hold on to something for a long time, because I'm just as guilty of that. I think a lot of artists are.
Absolutely.
So, all right, dude. With that, thank you so much, man.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Great.
And yeah, I think that's basically it. I think at first I was like, oh yeah, well, you've already told all your information. That's what I was going to say. All those links are going to be listed down below. So for those of you listening, check out the description. It's down below. Thanks so much for listening. I am the Artisan Rogue. I'll catch you in the next episode.
And then you find out I was not recording at all. I recorded the intermission. That's it.